So this has been a pretty chill weekend for most people, unless you work at GameFreak. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you guys have seen that there is a massive GameFreak hack that happened, and a ton of information about so many different things with so many different generations is all starting to come out. So if you're wondering what happened, it seemed like yesterday afternoon on 4chan, there was somebody who said that they had confidential GameFreak information and they uploaded a couple of files. And at first nobody really believed it, but when somebody did download the files and look through them, this was actually unreleased secret information from GameFreak that was out there. And so it was about 4 gigabytes that got out there, but the thing was the person was saying that they actually had like an entire terabyte of information that they managed to hack from GameFreak servers. So we're talking about a ton of information, and basically the 4 gigabytes that was out there was only like about 1% of the actual info that we have in terms of all the stuff that got hacked. And so it's kind of insane because it seems like bit by bit more and more pieces of information are starting to come out, and so we're just getting a ton of Pokemon stuff over and over and over, and through so many different generations, so many different games, so many different mediums. Like a ton of Pokemon stuff is just getting out everywhere. Now, how does something as massive as this end up leaking? And for that, it seems like we actually might know where all of this information even started, as it seems like this was unfortunately from somebody who was a Nintendo or GameFreak admin, as there's a screenshot here where we can see like an image of like the Nintendo or GameFreak development portal, because they've got like stuff with like Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Legends Arceus and other stuff that's on there, and in the corner we can actually see the name of the person who is logged in here. Now I have it blurred because I don't want to like reveal this person's name, but the thing is we can actually go and see, if we look up this person's name, that this person has worked on Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and Pokemon Scarlet. So this is actually a real person who works at Nintendo or GameFreak, and so this person is going to be in for a crazy time when they walk into the office, because they're going to have to do a lot of explaining for how this information got out there. But I don't think that this information was with malicious intent. Like I don't think this person was like, I hate Nintendo and I hate GameFreak and I'm done with all of this and I just want to get all this out there. I think what happened was this person was unfortunately a victim of like a scam or like a phishing scam or something that happened. And if you work in an office, then you know how they always train you on like these scams that are always kind of like emailed to you, where they can be really sneaky, where like if you have a company email address which has like an uppercase I in it, they could send you the exact same email address, but the uppercase I is a lowercase l, so it looks very similar, and you might fall victim to that. And so it seems like what happened was somebody managed to like email this person or somehow connect with them and kind of lured them into leaking all of this information, because they might have like disguised it as somebody who was like an upper admin who wanted access to these files, or like just wanted this information, and somehow that's basically how the hacker was able to get in here and then take all of the information from their servers and basically get the information from themselves, and now they're starting to upload all of this information online. Now, I'm not going to show any of the images or visuals inside of this video, because Nintendo and the Pokemon Company do go after these channels that show like the visuals inside of their videos for unofficial information, and I've had that happen in the past too, where I've shown like pictures of like leaked evolutions and stuff and my video's gotten taken down and they've given me a strike, so I don't want that to happen. So instead, if you are interested in looking at these images of like the new information that I'm going to talk about, you can actually join our Discord down below. I'll have the link for it, where we actually have a dedicated Pokemon Leaks channel where you can just join on in there, and they always have like links there for all the stuff that's getting out, as well as the images, so you can keep up to date with all that information there. So in terms of the information that is leaking, the first thing that we've got is a bunch of like discarded Pokemon designs for, I guess, just kind of designs that they had for Pokemon that they were going to do throughout multiple different generations, which they never ended up doing. So we've actually got a handful of these like Pokemon designs that actually look kind of cool, because we have like the entire sprite for them, and I guess these Pokemon just never actually made it into a final version, so we can kind of get an idea for what some of these scrap designs look, and so they are some pretty cool ones that you can take a look at. Now, by far the biggest thing with the most images and leaked visuals is a whole bunch of beta Pokemon designs for Pokemon that ended up coming into multiple generations, like Gen 3 with Ruby and Sapphire, Gen 4 with Diamond and Pearl, and also Gen 5 with Pokemon Black and White. And it seems like there's a 200 gigabyte file for Pokemon X and Y as well, so it's only a matter of time before that starts getting out there too. I'm sure they might even have it for Gen 7 as well, maybe even Gen 8. I don't really know how far this leak goes and how recent it is, so it's possible that that could be there. So So you might remember like a few years back when there was another Game Freak and Nintendo leak that happened, and a whole bunch of like beta designs for like Generation 1 Pokemon and Generation 2 Pokemon got out there. So this is essentially the same thing, but now for Generation 3 and Generation 4 and Generation 5, and it seems like there's already Gen 6 and maybe even Gen 7 and other generations on the way. So you can actually see a whole bunch of like these beta sprites for like Pokemon and what they ended up being with like the final version that we got in the games. So it's pretty cool. There's a whole bunch of these throughout different generations, and there's even beta sprites for like the characters and stuff too. So it's kind of cool to take a look at that. Now there's some beta music tracks that have gotten leaked as well, so you can kind of hear like the beta version of like the Sharon and Bianca battle theme from Pokemon Black and White. We've got a beta version of the Ecruteak City theme from Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. So basically there's a couple of leaked themes here and there for some areas, some battle themes and stuff, so it's cool to hear that throughout the different generations that we have info for as well. Now there's even leaked character concepts where we can actually see like descriptions for the characters that appear throughout these generations and what Game Freak wanted them to be like, as well as notes for their appearance and how Game Freak wanted these characters to look, which was essentially what they then gave to the designers who were then creating these characters. So Game Freak got really kind of unhinged and crazy with some of these. Like the one for my favorite character, Skyla, in the notes here they straight up just said they wanted her to be a sexy pilot girl with a large chest and also Hispanic. So hey, they cooked with that final design. I'm really happy with what we got, but it's kind of crazy to see these notes, and this is actually what Game Freak listed in kind of like the appearance notes that they have for these characters. So they have that for a lot of the gym leaders and like the villains and other important characters throughout these leaks. We've even got this like really crazy lore diagram for exactly how the Pokemon universe apparently was created, and it's kind of insane because you don't think that Pokemon really ever thinks about all of this type of stuff all that much, because Pokemon has a lot of lore, but we don't really ever actually see it in terms of like the story inside of the games. But this shows like there's a lot of crazy stuff in terms of like how the Pokemon universe was created at the very center with Arceus, and then having the gods of Dialga and Palkia with the space and time, and then you have like Uxie, Azelf, and Mesprit kind of guarding all three of those, and then it branches off into like Ho-Oh and Lugia with their trios of like the legendary birds and the legendary dogs, and it's kind of really crazy because the thing about this diagram is that we actually do see it with Arceus inside of like that Arceus event, so we know that it actually does make it into the game, but these circles all have different meanings to them. And there's even like pseudo legendaries like Dragonite that are connected with the legendaries. So that's kind of a huge discovery too, because it essentially shows us that like these pseudo legendaries, even though it's like a fan term that we've created for just Pokemon that are really strong but not quite legendary level, it seems like these Pokemon might still have a connection to legendaries as well. So just a bunch of crazy information that's getting out from that. Now there's a bunch of really cool Game Freak documents that got leaked as well, where we can actually see like the initial pitch that they had for Generation 3, and then also kind of like this document here where they talk about all the stuff that they discussed moving into a brand new generation on the DS with Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, and kind of the changes that they wanted to make moving from Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire with Gen 3. And so we can see here like moving to a brand new system, and then all the other changes that they wanted to do here with like the graphics, the Pokemon moves, how they wanted the story to be like. So I don't feel like it's really worth reading through all of this on video, because that would make this video into like a 3-hour video if we really just go through every single little thing that gets out there. But this will be in my Discord if you want to go and check it out for yourself and read through all of this. But it's just really crazy to kind of see all of this stuff that's coming out here, because it really kind of gives you an idea into their mindset when they were moving into these new generations. Now there's a bunch of anime leaks that came out from all of this too. There's even like entire executive like discussions that got leaked where we can see them talking about the anime ending with Ash and Pikachu and what it means moving forward. And it really honestly shows that Game Freak works very, very closely with the Pokemon anime, much more than most people would think. And it honestly really kind of shows you now why they kind of go about with the way that they do with like these new game releases and kind of the way that information gets out, because they really kind of closely are talking with the Pokemon anime team all the time. As looking through all of this, it is really much more than you would think, and you would honestly just think like it would be Game Freak making like these new Pokemon and stuff, and then the anime team sees what they created and then they kind of go off of that. But it seems like they're always constantly talking about like what's going to be coming up in the anime and what they're going to be creating with the new game, so it's honestly really kind of fascinating to see all of that. Now we haven't had a new Pokemon movie in a while, as I think the last one was all the way back in 2020 with Zarude, so it's been a few years since we've had an actual brand new Pokemon movie, and it seems like from all of these Game Freak leaks, it shows us that there was actually going to be a new movie that was supposed to come out last year, and we don't have the name for it, but we do have kind of like a description of it and exactly what was going to be in the movie, as it seems like there was a new movie that was going to be set in modern Kanto, and it was planned since 2021 and was supposed to release in 2023, and it seems like this was going to be an entire reboot of the movie universe with Pokemon and also tackle modern problems like cyberbullying and even suicide. It looks like it mentions here that the executives scrapped it because they thought it was too much for a Pokemon movie and the Pokemon audience, which is really unfortunate. But speaking of movies, we also have information about the Detective Pikachu movie sequel, and so it seems like this movie was called The Great Detective Pikachu, and apparently the leakers are saying that there's even a ton of information about like the entire story of this movie and the plot and all of that, and so we've kind of heard like on and off things about a sequel happening to Detective Pikachu. Some people were saying that it was apparently going to happen, and then it got scrapped like halfway, and so it got canceled. Some people were saying it was on again, and that they're working on it, and it's going to come out in a couple of years, so I don't really know. I mean, the fact that we have an entire story for this already written out, maybe it means that there actually is going to be this movie going into production and we could see it very soon, but who really knows at this point? Honestly, with all of this stuff leaking, they might even have to change like the story and plot of it now if it's gonna happen, so we might have ended up just delaying the movie even more. Now there's also movie information about a new concept with a movie called GameBoy apparently, and it seems like this movie was going to be about the bonds of Pokemon and people, so it seems pretty cool, and especially with it being called GameBoy, I'd imagine it was probably like a really nostalgic movie. We don't know if this movie was scrapped or if it's actually going to go into production or not, so it sounds kind of interesting. I'm honestly looking more forward to kind of seeing what that could be than a Detective Pikachu movie sequel, but who knows if this is actually going to happen. Now here is some of the really exciting stuff, as we've actually got a little bit of information on Pokemon Legends ZA, but also information about the 10th generation of Pokemon. Now I don't know exactly to the extent that these leaks go, because I know for Pokemon Legends ZA, some people were saying apparently there's an entire playable build of the game that somebody's already kind of played, and they've said that it's a really good version of the game and stuff, and I don't know how true that is because we haven't seen any images or videos and stuff, so I don't know how much I believe in that, but we do have actual like documents that we have with like notes and stuff that were taken from the developers talking about Pokemon Legends ZA and the 10th generation of Pokemon, so that stuff we know for a fact is real, and so that's what I'm going to be talking to you guys about here, and because there's no images and stuff and it's just text, I can actually show you guys that on screen here as well. Now we've also got leaked documents here about a discussion with some of the GameFreak developers in regards to Pokemon Legends ZA, and so we can see here it says, what about the Zygarde appearance? And so we've got Iwa out here, who was actually the director of Pokemon Legends Arceus, so it wouldn't surprise me if he's also going to be directing Pokemon Legends ZA, and we've got him here saying, I'm slightly concerned because even in Ikaku, Zygarde's normal form appears, the placement of its appearance worries me a bit. So the thing about Ikaku is this basically confirms now that Riddler was correct about Ikaku being the code name of Pokemon Legends ZA. So once again, Riddler staying correct about that, and they're talking about Zygarde, so this is definitely regarding Pokemon Legends ZA, and he's saying here, Zygarde's normal form appears, but the placement of its appearance worries me a bit. And then we've got Omori here saying, it might be a better time to introduce Mega Zygarde or something similar later. So essentially, this now just confirms Mega Zygarde is going to be in Pokemon Legends ZA. And then we've got Sugimori here saying that would be better. We've got Matsumiya here saying, I feel like they're just choosing things based on color. How can we create synergy with the surprise element of Mega Evolutions in the games and the anime? So once again, they're talking about the anime and bringing this stuff into the anime as well. So it really kind of shows you how much they really talk about the anime stuff too when they're talking about these upcoming games. We've got Sugimori here basically saying here, I'd like them to push it back as much as possible, bringing Zygarde in later rather than saying don't include this Pokemon, we should focus on timing and consistency of their appearances. Matsumiya is saying since we've removed the island hopping aspect, there is no more to worry about cannibalization, but I'm still worried about the school setting disappearing completely. So now they're talking about something else, I guess, where they're talking about the island hopping aspect, which I wonder if that means like the different zones that we had in Pokemon Legends Arceus, because now it seems like Pokemon Legends ZA isn't going to be like going to different areas because everything is just going to take place inside of this one giant Lumio city. So I wonder if that's what they're kind of referring to here. But then we've also got Sugimori here saying, it's tragic that we start by going to a school because we want to, and then suddenly we can't go anymore. I could understand if a kid who doesn't want to go to school goes on an adventure, But so it seems like this is kind of talking about Generation 9 stuff, because of course Scarlet and Violet had like that whole school setting. And then we've got Omori here saying the synergy with Titan is lacking, and Titan was of course the code name of Generation 9. So it says here, so it might be nice to have more school segments along the way. It feels like such a wasted opportunity overall. So I think they're still talking about the anime here and kind of like changing like kind of like the school setting with the anime. I don't really keep up too much with the anime, so I'm not really sure, but if you have more information about this, you can comment it down below. And then we've got Sugimori here saying, I don't understand why we're skipping Titan and instead heading in a Gaia-like direction. So once again, now we're talking about Generation 10. So I don't understand why we're skipping Titan and instead heading in a Gaia-like direction, which we don't really know what that means. Like, what exactly is a Gaia-like direction? I have no idea, but they're talking about skipping Titan basically, and I guess that means like kind of skipping like the whole school aspect of it, which I'm honestly all for. I don't want an entire school kind of setting again with a new generation of Pokemon. And I mean, we don't really know what Gaia-like direction means. Does that mean like Greek direction? Does that mean like a world direction with like how Gaia means world? Does that mean like the game is going to be huge with like the entire world now? I have no idea. And then lastly, we just got Omori saying, making it alongside Gaia risks creating a similar atmosphere. And so I wonder if that means like talking about Pokemon Legends ZA and kind of like risking creating a similar looking game with like the 10th generation and also Pokemon Legends ZA. So we can kind of see here the types of discussions that they're having here. And so essentially from all of this, it just confirms that we are going to be getting Mega Zygarde, and apparently they're talking about a new type of Gaia-like direction moving into Generation 10. And so it seems like the code name for the 10th generation of Pokemon is Gaia. And so Gaia is a Greek word that means earth. And so because of that, now a lot of people are speculating if Generation 10 is going to be a region in Greece and if it's going to be inspired by like Greek mythology and stuff. And that could be really cool for Pokemon if they decide to go that route. And it seems like even Riddler Q was kind of talking about this, where kind of like the little tidbit that he gave was too much water in terms of like a hint for that. And a lot of people are saying that that would also make sense for Greece because Greece is surrounded by water, and so if you're going to be able to explore all of that, it would make sense for a Greece region. So it's possible that maybe that is going to be kind of the location for Generation 10. And we also have kind of like the code names, or I guess like the two versions for this generation, with like version K and version N. Now I don't know if that means like these are going to be like what the versions start with, like it's going to start with the letter K and the other version is going to start with the letter N, or if these are also just internal code names that are going to be changed later. But that's pretty much kind of the information that we have right now with Generation 10. And it seems like this also confirms information about the next Nintendo system, and that the system is codenamed Ounce. So this was something that we've heard about for months, where like a lot of people were saying that apparently the Nintendo Switch 2 is codenamed Ounce, and that was coming from some of the leaks that we had with like Nintendo firmware. And now even this GameFreak leak is talking about it too, because it's talking about this Project Gaia being made for Nintendo Ounce. So it's being made for the Nintendo Switch 2, which obviously makes sense. It would be a brand new generation on a brand new Nintendo system. So it seems like all of that now is making sense as well. Now, a reputable insider, Necro Felipe, did comment about Gen 10, apparently saying that it's going to come out on both systems, implying that it's going to come out on the current Nintendo Switch and also the Nintendo Switch 2, which would honestly be really kind of insane. And he did clarify that the only reason that he feels that is because with the leaks that we have right now, it shows that Generation 10 with Project Gaia was tested on the current Nintendo Switch that we have right now. Whether or not though that means that the entire final version of the game is going to release for both systems, we don't really know. Apparently he's saying that it is, but we don't know for a fact. So it's possible that they could just be testing it on the current Switch and then it's actually only going to release on the Switch 2, which I feel like is the most likely scenario, because I think Nintendo would want a brand new generation of Pokemon only on their new system to really get people to go out and buy the Switch 2, because if it comes out on both systems, there's going to be a lot of people who just don't care about if it's even going to have like better graphics or performance or anything, and they're just going to keep playing it on the current Nintendo Switch. But then again, it's possible that they could be doing like these cross-generational releases for a while with games coming out on the current Nintendo Switch and also the Switch 2, like what we saw with the PS4 to the PS5, where a lot of the major games like Miles Morales and God of War Ragnarok and stuff were also coming out on PS4 and PS5, so we don't really know what Nintendo could be doing. And now, just as I'm starting to wrap up this video, it seems like more information is coming out about Generation 10, and so it seems like the Gen 10 region is going to be an archipelago of many islands. And so now a lot of people are once again saying Greece, because Greece does have islands around it, but at the same time, this is making more sense now with what we just talked about, with like that whole discussion with the developers, talking about the whole island hopping and all of that, where if the Gen 10 region is really going to be a giant archipelago of a ton of different islands, this sounds really exciting, because especially if they're going to expand upon it being like open world with like how we had it in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, this means you get to choose now which island you want to go to, and you get to go in any direction. And having this on an entire next generation Nintendo system with a ton of different areas to explore throughout these different islands, this sounds really exciting. So I can't actually wait to see what this is going to end up being. Now, apparently, it's also saying here that the hacker who is posting all of this is claiming that they also have access to the Pokemon Legends ZA and Generation 10 source code, and that they're claiming that the entire Pokemon Legends ZA main storyline is almost completely done and even translated into English, but it's still missing like half of the side quest content or other translations. Now, I don't know how true this is because we don't have any actual proof, we don't have any images or like video or anything, so it's all kind of just hearsay right now until we actually see something. But if there is more information that comes out from all of this and we get some more major stuff, I'll make a follow-up video that you can come back and watch, and I'll show all of the updated stuff and the new information that comes out. But yeah, that is pretty much all the information that we have from this massive Game Freak leak that just happened. If you guys enjoyed the video, definitely be sure to click that like button and also subscribe to the channel, as well as I'm definitely gonna have some more Pokemon videos, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Comment down below and let me know what you guys think about all this. What do you guys think about all these leaks that are coming out? How do you feel about all the Game Freak information? What are your thoughts on all of it? Definitely be sure to comment down below and let me know. But if you don't have anything to say about it, just comment your favorite emoji down below for some engagement. I would really appreciate it. Go follow me on Twitter at @Aero so you can be featured in videos, and also join my Discord server as well. We've got a bunch of people in there who are always talking about Pokemon and Smash Bros and Nintendo, so definitely be sure to join that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching.